we have just absolutely smashed them. All these other guys do the Fugazi and they listen to the computer, and we sort of point to where we want to go, and it seems to be working quite nicely. That's the wrap up. It's only yachting, mate. It's not science. It's not that hard, right? Just go fast at where you got to go. If it was for smart people, I'd be doing something else. Libby Greenhouse, she's done it again. See? We should have shares at Libby Greenhouse.
Yeah, dumped on a Mapfre in the last 6 hours. Were cogging 190 at 6 knots.
David Witt feeling very confident, and for good reason as well, because Team Sun Hunkai Scallywag and Team Axo Nobel are making some big moves to the south, and they seem to be paying off. So we'll be hearing more from David Witt in just a moment, plus skipper Xavi Fernandez from Mapfre, as well as news about who our special guest from Team Brunel is going to be joining us in the studio tomorrow and Thursday. It will be Annie Lush, here to answer your questions live. So if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below, and join us tomorrow for the show, as well as Thursday, to hear her answers and the take on what's paying out on the racetrack. And it certainly is a very interesting situation indeed. Let's go to the tracker and take a look at how this leg is paying off. It is 6,100 nautical miles from Hong Kong past the Solomon Islands all the way to Auckland. Plenty of opportunities for tactical manoeuvring. And it was that case from the start. From Taiwan, Team Axo Nobel and Sun Hunkai Scallywag tacked off early to try and make some gains in the north. But it wasn't to be early on. It was instead the other 4 boats who made the jump. And they really held the lead until that cold front started to close over the top of them. With that, Team Axo Nobel, Sun Hunkai Scallywag started to ride the new breeze and started to make up a little bit of the deficit. The rest of the fleet also getting that breeze, and then it was power reaching their way out to the east. Then came that difficult transition period that we've seen over the last few days. And something very interesting happened here. As the wind speed dropped, Mapfre and Dongfeng race team got spooked, and the two of them lined up together to cover one another, arguably their closest rivals, in a real tight match race in the search for new pressure. This left Team Brunel and Turn the Tide on Plastic out on their own, but look at the gains to Team Axo Nobel. They were really sitting pretty. But the big news of the moment is Sun Hunkai Scallywag to the south. David Witt, Libby Greenhouse and the rest of the team have lined themselves up perfectly. And just before we came on air, David Witt couldn't contain his excitement about just how well they were doing.
Yeah, well, we're sort of neck and neck with Axo Nobel leading the fleet. 1,200 miles to go to the doldrums, which I think is where the race is going to be won or lost.
On the last leg, going in the other direction, you did an absolutely beauty, sailing straight to the finish pretty much and sailed past everybody. It looks like a similar move this time. Yeah,
a few similarities from what we've just done when we're 100 miles behind to cut the corner a little bit again. Seems to be coming our trait. But the doldrums is going to be very interesting, and we've made sure we set ourselves up where we want to be in the doldrums, so we're pretty happy where we are at the moment. When you tacked off at Taiwan, how committed were you to this overall outcome? Was there any point where you doubted whether this would work? 100%, because I'm sick of computer files that are wrong. I'm about to throw the computers over the back of the boat again, but Libby won't let me. How difficult was that on board with Libby sort of committed to one move and you maybe doubting it a little bit? You know, Libby's doing a great job. She's a meteorologist and right into all the computer software, and I'm a dinosaur when it comes to that stuff. I'm more seat of your pants, look out the window. So at the moment we're sort of the odd couple, but we tend to be meeting in the middle, so it's working pretty well for us. Would it be fair to say that Scallywag has kind of established themselves as somebody that the rest of the fleet very much has to be scared of? I don't know about being scared of, but it's quite interesting. Our crew boss, John Fisher, made a point today that Dongfeng and Mapfre seem to just race each other. You know, if we can have a good result here and another good result, it could end up a 3-horse race. So does it look good for you looking ahead in the position that you are at the moment? Yeah, if I could hire a Chinook, a big helicopter, pick the boat up and put it somewhere, apart from putting it on the finish line, I'd put it exactly where we are now. David Witt feeling confident on board Sun Hunkai Scallywag, and for good reason. But the challenges still remain, maybe not with the weather, but how you sail this boat fast compared to some of the best sailors in the world. So to help us understand that, we've got Peter Tans, race expert here. And Peter, I want to focus on the sails. Each of the teams out there on the Volvo Ocean Race at the moment get 8 sails
to play with, so plenty of choice. But I want to talk about the big four, shall we say, the ones at the front. We've got the masthead code 0, the fractional code 0, the J0, and the J1. Just talk us through those sails.
Yeah, we have the masthead 0 that goes to the top of the sail, top of the mast, front of the sprit, and all the way back to the boat. And that's a sail for light air and broader angles. Then we have the fractional 0, that's for the same angles but more wind. And then we have the J0 that goes to the top of the mast, front of the sprit, but further, not as far back in the boat. That's for tighter angles. And then we have the J1, the only sail on the forestay that goes to the forestay, back, not to the back of the boat and not to the top of the mast.
All right, so too much breeze for the masthead code 0. We're not going to see that one. Not enough breeze for the fractional code 0. We're not going to see that one. So J0, J1. Why? What's the decision like? I mean, how do you decide which one to use? Which one's best?
Well, that all has to do with the wind angle and the wind speed over the next couple of days. And that is very important. If you have a little bit more wind, then you will need to do the J1. If you have tighter wind angles, you need to do the J1. If you have a bit broader angles, you'll use the J0 because that gives you more power and it goes further back.
And with the split in the fleet at the moment, I mean, you've been following the tracker at home. We've got Sun Hunkai Scallywag with that impressive position at the south, Turn the Tide on Plastic, Team Brunel all the way at the north. But the breeze across the fleet is quite consistent. So the wind angle-wise, it puts the whole fleet right in between those two sails.
Yes, for Scallywag, they're on their own. So they will have to guess and try to figure out with their polars that they have which sail to use. But the other guys up north, they're quite close together. They can speed test against each other. What does the other guy have up? Let's try it, let's play around with it. And they're very small changes, and these angles are not very comfortable to sail at. They're tedious angles to sail at.
So the first challenge you have is deciding which sail to use. But also, Peter, I mean, when we talk about changing between two sails, the change between the J0 and the J1, I mean, the J1, that's the hardest sail to use. It's a hanked-on sail, the only hanked-on sail.
Yes, so that means if you take it down, you'll need all the guys on the foredeck, everybody that's asleep needs to come up on deck and go on the bow, take it down. It's wet and it's heavy, and then pack it up and take it back. And if you put it up, you got to hank it on. That's a hard job to do. If you have a furling sail, you furl it up and it's gone. And you have one guy on the bow to take it down, and that's it. So it's a lot harder to put up a J1.
All right, so the weather making things a little bit easier, but this angle, this wind speed making things still pretty challenging. And to get the latest update on what's happening out in the race course, Xabi Fernandez, skipper of the overall race leader, Mafre, sent in this quick update.
Well, since the start we've been together, two groups, basically Turn the Tide Brunel, Donphan and us, and Axel Nobel and Scallywag from the other side. And well, we've been traveling together right in the front and being very close one to each other. And of course the goal for us is to win the leg, but on top of that we have to be always be very careful with Donphan. And in the difficult moments like last night, we had to pass a transition with no wind. We had to make the call and stick together, and I think they did the same call. So that's why we are here both together again, 1 mile apart and in the middle of the fleet. So let's see how it comes out. Well, since the beginning of this Volvo, we see we always together, and especially this leg as well. It's already day 6, and we've been seeing each other 100% of the time. So I think we will struggle to don't see them. Now we sail in tri-winds, quite easy and comfortable conditions, and we're doing pretty much same speed. And here we are 1 mile apart, and I think, as I said before, we will be seeing each other a long time in this leg. Well, it's so long to go in this leg. Right now we have more than 2,000 miles from here to the Solomons, and between here and there we have to sail the tri-winds, and we have to take a loaded transition, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities to catch up with the guys in front and have all the options open.
Still a lot of this racing left for Xabi Fernandez on board Mafre, and indeed all the teams. But one boat at the moment missing from the race course is Vestas 11th Hour Racing. In leg 4, Vestas 11th Hour Racing were involved in a collision with a non-racing vessel just 30 miles from the finish in Hong Kong. It ended in tragic circumstances, and the full details are still being investigated. The boat didn't sail the import races or the transitional leg 5 to and from Hong Kong, and did not start this leg. With the help of GAC Pindar, the boat has been shipped to Tauranga and was unloaded on the 12th of February and transported 200 kilometers to Auckland, where repairs can now begin. Now, a new bow section has been made in Italy using the official Volvo 65 molds, and after removing the damaged sections, the new bow will be attached under the supervision of an independent surveyor to adhere to the class rules. The goal is to relaunch in time for leg 7, the double points leg from Auckland to Itajaí, Brazil, that begins on the 18th of March. Best of Salemathar Racing has said that they will continue to provide updates about the repair and indeed the ongoing investigation as details become available. Plus, we've extended an open invitation to Charlie Enright and Mark Towell to come on this show, and we believe their intention is to do so in the latter half of this leg. But just a reminder about what's going on the racetrack right now. Very interesting situation with Sunhunkai Scallywag and their opposite, Team Brunel, all the way in the north. And we will have a Team Brunel crew member in the studio tomorrow and Thursday. Annie Lush will be joining us and answering your questions live. So get them in the comments and join us for those two shows. Also, don't forget, we've got a competition running, a very impressive competition indeed, for a Garmin Verb 360 camera. All you got to do to win it is to predict which boat is going to cross the equator first, on which date and at which time. But this is crucial. In order to get your entry valid, you have to tag the boat name in the comments. When you go onto Facebook, put the @ write the boat name, and a little menu will pop down. You select the boat that you want, then you put in the date, then the time, and it has to be in UTC time code. Competition runs out on the 14th at midnight. You can enter as many times as you like, but if you have the same answer as somebody else, the person who got there first, the person who was bravest enough with their opinion, will win. That's everything that we got for you today. Don't forget, Annie Lush on the show tomorrow live. We'll have a quick fix for you in the morning. We'll see you then.